My daughter returned home in tears after attending a Christmas gathering at her grandparents' house. She was visibly shaken and handed me a wrapped gift in silence. "Mom, look at this." "Why do I have to endure this?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. I was speechless. As I unwrapped the gift, my heart sank. It was disturbingly inappropriate for a child. Alarmed, I immediately contacted the police, which led to the exposure of the gift giver's troubling actions and the chaos that followed. This incident sparked a wave of family drama, and the person responsible faced severe consequences. At 45, with a younger husband who worked at the same company, I had shifted careers at 34, motivated by a hurtful comment from a previous employer. My current workplace values merit over age or gender, and my husband, who had been my supervisor, was an incredible support throughout my journey. We married quickly and now have a kind-hearted fourth-grade daughter who loves to read and always shows kindness. However, my relationship with my sister-in-law has been tense from the start. Despite having a good rapport with my in-laws, she has always disapproved of me, mocking our quick marriage and making cruel remarks about the age difference between my husband and me. She was quick to criticize my appearance during pregnancy, once comparing me to a sumo wrestler. While I tried to remain unaffected for the sake of my peace of mind, her harsh words still stung. The tension eased somewhat when she married and moved away, reducing our interactions and allowing me to focus on the joys of raising our daughter. The birth of our daughter, though difficult, marked a joyful chapter in our lives. With my husband's unwavering support, I found strength through the challenges. When our daughter first cried in the delivery room, his gratitude and recognition of my effort brought us both to tears of happiness. But 5 months later, my sister-in-law gave birth to a boy, and her visits to our home resumed. Each time she came, she would spend an hour with us, subtly comparing our children and making hurtful remarks about my age. She would point out visible wrinkles on my face compared to the smooth skin of her son, a comparison that began to take a toll on my daughter as well. On top of that, she would leave with diapers and formula, claiming she was just stocking up to avoid running out. It became clear to me that her visits were not just about family, it was a chance to belittle me and take advantage of our supplies. Eventually, her visits stopped when her husband's job moved them to another state, bringing a brief period of peace. However, when our daughter started elementary school, she discovered that her cousin was enrolled there as well. Despite the tension between us, our children formed a strong bond. My daughter, older and kind-hearted, looked after her younger cousin, and he became quite popular among his peers. By 3rd grade, they were in the same class, and my daughter received recognition for a summer reading project that was even published in the local newspaper. It was a moment of pride for our family, but it didn't sit well with my sister-in-law. She claimed that the book my daughter chose was meant for her son, despite the fact that the children had exchanged books and made the decision together. This moment, meant to celebrate my daughter's success, only fueled the animosity. My nephew had a preference for the book my daughter had read first, and generously, she let him choose it for his report. Yet my sister-in-law accused me of writing the reflection for my daughter, perhaps recalling my love for writing novels in college, a fact she likely learned from my husband. To my horror, she spread malicious rumors at school, claiming I used personal connections to influence the competition judges, tarnishing my daughter's accomplishment. The false accusations devastated my daughter, who lost interest in her once-beloved hobby of reading. That was the final straw. I couldn't stand seeing my daughter so disheartened, not only because of the lies directed at me, but because she had become a target of cruel gossip. For the first time, I opened up to my husband, sharing the full extent of his sister's behavior toward me since our marriage. From taking clothes meant for our daughter to mocking my pregnancy appearance, the list was long. Furious, my husband agreed it was time to confront his sister. With his parents' support, he confronted her at her home. Her initial joy at the unexpected visit quickly turned to shock as my husband sternly reprimanded her. Instead of accepting responsibility, she tried to deflect by accusing me of betraying her to her favorite brother, playing the victim and dismissing her actions. At first, I answered her phone calls, hoping for some sign of reconciliation. But I quickly realized she was just venting her frustrations. I eventually stopped answering, letting her calls go to voicemail. After 2 weeks, the calls stopped, though I later learned it wasn't because she lost interest. A Christmas party was being planned at my in-laws for the children, and my daughter was thrilled to be invited. It reminded her of the joyful kindergarten Christmas parties she had attended, something she longed for in her new school, though it didn't organize any such events due to policy restrictions. I had always found it strange how some parents held tightly to religious traditions during Christmas when the holiday has become a global celebration. For the past 2 years, my daughter and I chose to embrace the festive spirit in our own way, quietly celebrating at home with a small gift exchange. This year, however, my in-laws invited us to their party, with a modest $11 budget for the gift exchange. My daughter and I went on a little adventure to pick out the perfect gift for someone else, and she chose a picture book she loved, eager to share its joy. On the day of the event, with the gift in hand, she set off to my in-laws' house, just a short bus ride away. After confirming with my mother-in-law that she would pick her up from the bus stop, I felt at ease, momentarily letting go of my worries. But peace was short-lived. Less than an hour later, I was stunned to hear the front door open. My daughter stood in the doorway, crying. She handed me a bag, and I knew immediately that something was wrong. Inside, I found a mutilated stuffed animal, its disfigurement stained with red ink to resemble blood, and a newspaper with my daughter's reading reflection torn apart. A menacing card written in red ink warned us about arrogance and threatened us with the same fate as the ruined toy. My daughter revealed that this disturbing gift had come from my sister-in-law, a shocking revelation. Despite not attending the party herself, she had managed to ruin what should have been a joyful event for the children. I felt betrayed. Had my mother-in-law known her daughter would be there, she surely would have warned me. This breach of trust hit hard. Before my daughter could tell her grandmother about the incident, my aunt intervened, asserting that only children from missionary schools were welcome at the gathering. My daughter, confused, asked what a missionary school was, leaving me lost for words. Our family had always taken a different path, choosing public education for our daughter, but it seemed that my sister-in-law was using this as another opportunity to belittle her. It was a painful reminder of how deep the animosity ran. I rushed to the police station, my mind racing with fear and anger as I insisted on the seriousness of the threat. Even though the officers were initially hesitant to intervene, they suggested it might be best to handle it as a family matter. However, a female officer saw the gravity of the situation. She understood that threats and violence, even within families, were crimes and assured me that immediate action would be taken. She promised to visit my sister-in-law and issue a stern warning. That evening, when my husband came home, I recounted the events of the day. His outrage was immediate. He wasted no time in calling his parents, who were hosting the Christmas party. They claimed to have been unaware of the incident, suggesting that my sister-in-law may have sneaked in through an unlocked back door while my mother-in-law was occupied. The party had been left in the hands of the younger family members, who hadn't realized what had transpired. After the police officer issued her warning, my in-laws, disturbed by the severity of the situation, organized a family meeting. The meeting took place at their house, and my sister-in-law and her husband arrived late. She was visibly displeased about the police involvement and showed no remorse. Her husband, however, was completely unaware of the situation, which only highlighted the seriousness of what had happened. We all gathered to discuss how to move forward and address the underlying issues. When my sister-in-law's husband was finally made aware of her actions, his shock was evident. He had no idea of the full extent of the situation until that moment. Apologizing to us, he seemed genuinely regretful, a stark contrast to his wife, who remained unapologetic. Her argument that the lack of police arrest meant she was innocent left everyone in the room stunned, showing a level of denial that was almost incomprehensible. In a surprising twist, he announced that he was divorcing her. This revelation shocked us all, especially since there had been no outward signs of trouble in their marriage. He explained that his decision wasn't sudden but the result of years of frustration. Her neglect of household duties and childcare had escalated over time, along with her increasingly erratic behavior driven by vanity and status. They had moved multiple times, often due to her obsession with appearances or attempts to enroll their son in prestigious schools, only to face disappointment and embarrassment. Eventually, they had settled on a public elementary school, a choice supported by their son but initially opposed by her. The final straw was her recent behavior, culminating in the harassment of our family. Caught off guard, my sister-in-law attempted a weak apology, seemingly in a last-ditch effort to salvage the situation. She claimed her actions were just jokes or pranks, but there was nothing funny about sending a child a menacing gift. The hostile message and the disturbing image of a mutilated stuffed animal went far beyond what could be dismissed as a joke. I confronted her, pointing out that her actions were completely out of line for a mother. Being a parent doesn't automatically give you parental instincts, I told her, expressing how her behavior was a far cry from what one would expect from someone in that role. Despite her tears, my husband was firm. He told her that crying wasn't going to absolve her actions. At your age, you should know better than to expect sympathy to erase what you've done, he said. She continued to cry, denying her wrongdoing and even suggesting that the family's disapproval stemmed from my age and marriage to her brother. Her complete lack of insight into the situation left us all speechless, and my husband, in particular, was stunned by her inability to grasp the gravity of her behavior. As the conversation ended, her husband had no choice but to take her home. The divorce proceedings began soon after, with my sister-in-law's reluctance to acknowledge her faults hindering the process. The tipping point came when her son, innocent as ever, shared what he had witnessed at the Christmas party with his classmates. He described the disturbing scene of the mutilated stuffed animal, which quickly spread among the school community, causing concern among teachers and parents alike. This revelation made it difficult for my daughter to return to school. She felt the weight of the gossip surrounding the incident, and her absence sparked speculation about the events at the party. It was a reminder of how a single careless act could ripple through the lives of everyone involved. I had hoped the situation could have been quietly resolved, allowing my daughter to return to school when she was ready. Her cousin, in sharing his story, hadn't meant to cause harm but had been desperate for his mother's actions to stop. Faced with the mounting pressure, my sister-in-law's husband expedited the divorce, agreeing to her terms just to finalize their separation. By then, she had become infamous for her menacing behavior, and the community ostracized her. Her attempt to return to her parents' home was met with rejection, and soon she found herself struggling to meet even her basic needs. She accumulated debt from dubious sources and eventually vanished from our lives. My husband and his parents decided not to report her missing, accepting her absence as the resolution to the situation. In the aftermath, my daughter slowly regained the confidence to return to school, where her cousin remained a steadfast ally, promising to look out for her. What had begun as a painful chapter in our lives unexpectedly brought our families closer. My in-laws, now more involved than ever, embraced both grandchildren and became a source of stability and support. With my sister-in-law out of the picture, our family found peace, the lingering tensions giving way to stronger, trusting relationships.